Yeah. So what are you noticing? Like, how's your life changed from pre-COVID to middle of COVID?
Yeah, yeah. From now to start, I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are coming back out right now.
I
Like
noticed
just
that.
the number of buyers contact me, and it's just following the proper protocol. So even when I want to go see a place, there's forms that either myself and the clients have to sign before we go and view a property. As a proper, as a, as a listing agent, we do that kind of safety check, make sure there hasn't been any traveling, and that there's no fever or any kind of temperatures before people visit properties.
Yeah. And like you get a little cold now, it's like you're questioning everything, right? Like I was really all of a sudden one day just was like, I'm exhausted. I went to bed. I'm like, have I caught something? Right. So it's good to be overly diligent and like make sure. And then I recover right away. And it's like, okay, it was nothing.
Yeah, it's
But I mean, we're all hyper aware of it now. And I think it's good. Like we need to be filling out those forms. I wonder how long that will last for though, like as soon as, is this something that will last after this?
I don't think so. I mean, this is once we reach a certain point, whether it's a vaccine or again, there's some confidence around being able to allow people and be around people, right? The social distancing, particularly, once we're comfortable to that state, then those forms will come down. But just for now, it's just those added precautions. Like I travel with hand sanitizer, gloves, and a mask in my car, like multiple for even people that I'm going to meet to
Yeah.
provide to them. And I don't see that continuing forever.
It's like your bat belt. You're like Batman for a
Yeah.
realtor. You've got your
Yeah,
little
I have the Batmobile and we have all these utility gadgets popping up. Yeah,
what you've always wanted, right?
yeah. I mean, even for on the listing side, like, so I'm preparing for a listing coming out, and again, photographer, we're doing everything individually. Usually, we need to kind of lump sum, kind of everyone together on the same day or on the same time, so that you can get it all done. It's now doing individuals. The photographer comes in, the stagers coming in on their own,
Right.
right? Everyone's taking that extra level of precaution on each stage along the way, just to maintain that health and safety.
Somebody was telling me that the photographers are all of a sudden really busy. Like they're preparing a lot of listings that are coming out.
Yeah, again,
You
I
feeling
think
the same?
that's I'm talking to the same people, the stagers, everyone's starting to get a little bit busier. I'm noticing more listings starting to come out. Again, still not keeping up with the buyer demand, but
Right.
it's a good sign that people are confident to have people in their house again.
Yeah. I saw a stat that listings are up 50% over last month.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but last month, that's when
Yeah.
it was quiet. There was nothing coming out a month ago, and now, when you say 50%, it's a month ago we were at maybe 100 to 200 new houses in Toronto coming out, and now we're getting up to the 300 range. Like it's just usually when we see 700, that's the thing. Usually we're seeing 700 new listings a week. Again, we're getting into the 300, 350 range, so we're halfway where we're usually at, but not where the spring market
Right.
usually is.
Maybe like a busy December month at this point. Like, is that kind of the comparable?
Exactly. A lot of I've been following some of the U.S. stats and what's coming out there and Canada, and there's an underlying theory that it's going to be like a summer is going to be like the new spring market. Like I'm gearing up. I'm telling my family like, hey, listen, I might be busy into July and August. Usually that's our quieter time because we're seasonal,
Yeah.
but that might be our busy time this year.
I know I usually try to plan my vacation around like the end of August to feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of a really quiet time. I can walk away from the business and not feel totally guilty. And but I have a feeling that's going to change this year. Like it'll be a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Are you so you've got your mask on when you go in, you need your gloves, everybody's got hand sanitizer. I've heard it's like I haven't been into any listings. Is it somebody explained to me it's kind of like going into a museum. Is that
Yeah, that's the general rule. If it's a vacant property, that's usually the most comforting. But even still, when you go into a vacant property, you don't know how many people have been in there before you. So we caution if you don't, as a listing agent, if I'm listing a vacant property, I'm leaving closet doors open. Usually we're trying to leave things closed and looking pristine and neat. Now it's like, let's leave as many things open, easy to access so people don't have to touch things. And if you do, we're leaving bottles, hand sanitizer, and gloves at the site in case, you do want to put a new pair of gloves on and open the cabinets or the kitchen or the closets that were closed. So, uh,
so
yeah,
it's like it's been rated, like everything's open.
yeah, I kind of again. That's why I even recommend for if my sellers are in the property at the time, hey, before you leave, instead of leaving everything like this, we're going to leave it now open so people don't have to open your closets or touch handles the same way that they did. Leave your basement door open if you usually close it. Just small little things like that to reduce the touching and contact in properties.
So no licking the light switches, is that,
No,
that's
nope.
it?
No, definitely not.
Okay. It's a good thing I'm not going in. I don't know the rules, you know,
No.
but I'm sure you can help.
It's kind of something I'm explaining when I having these consultations with buyers or sellers. It's what I'm telling them. This is how the new process and what way we're proceeding.
Yeah.
I mean, offers haven't changed. Again, I've been going electronic for a long time now anyway. So e-signatures, people are very comfortable with signing up from any mobile device. It's almost the preferred method even before COVID. So
Right.
that hasn't changed much.
Pushing some of these like people who weren't doing it, it's pushing them into that new, like where really how we all should have been doing it anyway. I'm finding like my lenders are now, okay, yeah, now we're accepting digital signatures, like reluctantly accepting them. And like, what year is this? Like, it's 2020. Like, we should have been doing this. You should have been doing this 10 years ago.
Well, I find it really funny that a lot of fax numbers are still included on our listings. It's a standard field that we have to fill out. I'm like, I don't know anyone that uses faxes anymore.
So, yeah, when I was in sales, at a sales job, we used to say like, hey, let's go, I'm going to wait. I got to go up to my fax machine and wait for the fax. Just let me know when it's coming. And like, why would anybody ever do that? Now it just appears on your computer, you know?
Yeah. When I first started 10 years ago, I actually bought a printer that I can plug into the back of my car. I got all these adapters. I traveled with basically a scanner printer wherever I went. And it wasn't a small printer in the back of my trunk, but that was normal at the time. Like just be able to show up. That was ahead of its time to show up the printer in your trunk. Like I'm a mobile agent. And now it's like, it's from the device. Like, hey, I'll send you the offer. Like click, and it's done.
Yeah. And that's the way to do it, right? Like you want to be safe. You want to not having like passing around a pen or a paper. So I totally get it. I think that's pushing people into the future. I think that's one of the good things that's coming out of this situation.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything different with mortgages? Again, you guys have been pretty mobile for a while now, but.
Yeah, but there still was some lenders that took a while. Like I still have a couple lenders that need a paper signature, like a wedding signature, like on like prepayment document, like when you're gonna where your bank information is. Some lenders still require you to print that out and sign it, which seems crazy to me. But then we've had a whole bunch that have come on with digital signature on all their documents, which is great. Like we need to be, that's how we should be. To have somebody have to get out of it on digitally on their computer, I think, or their phone, it makes no sense. But that's where I'm finding like finally some of these laggards who we've been bothering for years, like when are you going to accept electronic signature? They finally have come on to be able to allow us to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, but I don't have to worry about hand sanitizer. Like I'm completely, I'm completely digital as it was. And I'm sitting in my home right now, even though it looks like I'm on Toronto Island or something. I'm actually in my house in Riverdale.
Again, I don't know how much, client facing you have to do, but I mean, for our business, kind of client facing was a big part of our business. So it's really the big change for me is that Zoom meetings for like initial meetings with buyers and initial meeting with sellers. That's new where like every week I'm doing like several of these Zoom calls of sitting down and going through my presentations. Where usually I go into the person's house and sit down and present. It's, it's different. That's the biggest difference on my end that I'm noticing. Especially because we're getting back into showing in person. I think when this all kind of kicked off in the end of March, I was running to a lot of properties just by myself, making these videos on just my smartphone and then send it to them through BombBomb. And that was a big change then, but people now want to get out and see properties again. So I
think that's the natural state, right? Like people want to get in, feel the house. You can get a sense of a house from a video or from a picture, but you really need to be in it. It's somewhere that you're going to be and you're going to live. So I think that will never go away.
I mean, for sure, 100%. Even feeling the neighborhood. I sometimes send people or buyers to the street or the neighborhood first to just drive by it, because sometimes if the streetscape or the neighborhood feels important to them, like do those little due diligence before you go in the house and do that kind of have that extra level of risk. Go drive by, make sure you're comfortable with everything else, and then we'll go into the house. So just again, making sure they have the virtual tour. doing a little bit more pre-listing or pre-showing material and steps help kind of reduce the risk. And because with buyers, it's a process. It's a learning curve for them. It's a learning curve for me. So I'm not running in, thinking that the first house they're going to see, they're going to buy. So I got to learn what they like, what their preference are, and those change as they learned the inventory as well. So kind of cutting back on the number of properties we see is part of this process, and it's doing a little bit more homework and a little bit digging before each showing.
Yeah, I can imagine there'd be some some variation in just even I agree, like get out and drive by the house, get the feel for the market. And they're going to drive in and out on some different streets. They'll get a feel like, well, I didn't like that street, but if anything comes up on the street beside it or two over or whatever, they might be more interested in that, and then be able to move a little quicker when that house does become available.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's do it. Well, thanks. It was great to catch up with you, Paul.
Yeah, I look forward. These are great to do every week, and I look forward to chatting with you next week, Sean.
All right, buddy. I'll see you next week.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.